Welcome back here at Goldberg. So, as many of you know, I am not a Hasid or pious man, but I am what we call a Talmid Shakam, which roughly translates to student of the wise. Now, with that being noted, I wanted to broach the possibility of there being a spiritual dimension to the problems we face in the world around. You might have to suspend your disbelief for a moment, as I have done, but perhaps it'll be slightly more compelling than the usual, oh, it comes down to psychology or evolution. So I'll start with a relatively innocuous tale from last year, and then we'll proceed to the serious stuff. I'm down south, and I decide, for the first and last time, to do one of those ghost and vampire tours. Now, when I was a younger man, I felt that a black person shucking and jiving meant that they're very genuine. They want to be your friend. They're cool. They're chill. And over time, I was like, this is a form of manipulation. Because this particular sister leading the tour, granted, she knew her stuff. I even gave her some cash at the end extra, more out of politeness than having enjoyed the whole thing. But she was trying to play up this exaggerated Southern mammy stereotype the whole time. We should be going, ooh, don't you go down that sidewalk. It's going to be bad for you. Let me tell you. Ooh, I hate to see what's going to happen to you. Ooh. And this is why I can't stand Eurocells, because they'll accuse Americans of being ignorant, but outside of their little bubble, they have no clue what's going on in the world. They're not really aware of other cultures. And so they're so easy to take advantage of. Because even though this girl was going in and out of character every time she would stop for a break, they're just sitting there, oh my god, she's so droll and hilarious. Anyway, the tour devolved into the girls geeking out over the Twilight movies, and I said, okay, yeah. But later on that night, I didn't do this deliberately to test the theory about the sidewalk. What happened is there were a bunch of drunks on the opposing path. So I said, just detour, cut across here, and I'll go home. Had I drunk any alcohol? Very minimal. It was like a fruity drink. I don't get drunk to begin with, and I certainly don't do that when I'm by myself on vacation. But I go back to the apartment, and they have these old style AC units, the ones that are sitting under the window. It would run, and then it would stop, and you hear this sound like a trapdoor or a secret passage opening, and then it would cycle and go shung, like it's closing. Never seen this. I've been around professional air handling units, central air window units. I've never seen or heard, I should say, this type of sound ever before in my life. So I get in bed, I take a melatonin, I put the covers over my face, and I swear to God, I felt there was some presence hovering directly over me. I was getting chills or sweating in an alternation. It continued nonstop, and eventually I had to go down to the lobby, just sit there, and I'm going, "Are you okay, sir?" So when I finally got to sleep, I ended up really crashing. I missed my deadline for a rental car, so I couldn't see some items. I still got the car, but I wasn't able to visit as much as I wanted to on that day. I guess the lesson there is don't test legends or spirits. Don't walk by places where people supposedly were murdered. I don't know what to tell you. But on to more serious questions. So, traditional Carberry teachings hold you are not to associate with the cult of Moloch. By the way, the word Melech with two E's just refers to a lord or a ruler, but Moloch as a name, modern scholars are not clear if it's distinct from Baal as in two separate deities. We know Baal was popular with the Phoenicians. They would set up their trading facilities in temples of Baal. Some would claim the Careberries were trying to slander other religions, but there are non Careberry sources pointing to this very popular cult involving human sacrifice in the region. And one narrative is they would have these idols to Baal that would be heated up with compartments where you could insert children to be sacrificed, and their screams would simulate as though the god was responding to you. So, very nefarious and sadistic. You go, well, yeah, but that's ancient history. Who cares? Unfortunately, many of our elites in the modern day surround themselves with symbolism that doesn't seem to quite click. You'd say, okay, you're progressive, you're rich, you're post religion, you would be focused on the cult of diversity and progress or science. You wouldn't be always caught with this very bizarre imagery. I talk about in the past working with that Karen, and she just randomly comes out and says she wants to join the Church of Satan. And I'm saying, why would you do that? You're so progressive. You're a big, Hillary, Bernie booty boy type. Why would you want to join the Church of Satan? I understand universal Universalist, SpongeBob cults, Buddhism, Baha'i, but why the Church of Satan? Is it just a meme, or is it you trying to indicate that there's something else involved in your life? We definitely see this with pop musicians. I'm thinking back of the days, a paperback novel, not a Hollywood horror, but it is a Hollywood horror. Look at Katy Perry, Dark Horse music video. It's filled with bizarre satanic imagery. The Weeknd, Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga, just to name a few. This is very strange for people that are just making catchy pop songs. Why do they even bother with music videos, and why are they filled with so much garbage? Here's some artwork that was in the background of a photo taken at the recent Davos conference. Why do all these elites have a fixation with Luciferian themes? You've got a woman sacrificing a baby to a satanic creature, and I guess blood flowing into is it the Duchy of Cornwall National Trust. So this goes to that other picture that came out, the portrait of Charles III, and he's like covered in blood, it looks like. Saying, why? Who dreams this nonsense up? I hate to say it, I'll be vague. There's a private school I know of that if you look at the name, the logo, and some of the stuff it says on the website, it's very much on par with what Vigilant Citizen has been talking about for years with the mind control stuff. And even more questionable, it's located right next to a Bob Mueller building. And sometimes late at night, you'll see these cars pull up and it seems like there's children getting out of it. I mean, again, it could be nothing, just late field trips or something of that nature, but it's a little bit questionable to say the least of why these rich and powerful people all seem to be caught doing the same stuff and being tied up in this, bizarro world artwork. Maybe you remember this lady from 2016. This particular image, I didn't necessarily want to put it up because it creeps me out for some reason. I just don't think I'm looking at a human when frankly, in general, just this woman's appearance is questionable. And there's another character, Miriam Khan. She's very popular with elites. She's buddy with Macron. I'm going to tell you right now, don't go and look up her artwork because you're going to be traumatized. Some of the most disgusting stuff I've ever seen. It rivals what was in the Podesta collection. And this is, again, what the elites put at the forefront. Abuse of children and sacrifice to demonic entities. Why would they be doing that? Are they just mocking us? We're trolling these idiots because they're simpletons, they have a limited IQ. Or are they doing it because it's a reflection of who they are and what they believe in? I'll leave that up to you. Now you might ask, how precisely does this relate back to the masses? Well, we have to rewind to 2012 for a second. The Democrats unleashed this absolutely brilliant political strategy summarized as the War on Women, which was championed by no less than Lena Dunham herself. Under its terms, they corral pretty much every single woman, and many of those who are married, into this one-issue voting bloc. Not about the environment or public safety or schools or foreign wars, taxes, but am I able to ride the carousel with government-funded birth control? And am I free to slaughter my babies as I see fit? And it prevails to this day. The only thing that is propping up Kamala's campaign, if you pay attention to the messaging, it's, oh, if you don't vote for her, you're a weird inkwell. This is what they're trying to say. What did I mention a long time ago? Moral primacy in the West revolves around a man's relative access to the female reproductive organ. If you're able to bury yourself between a woman's legs on a semi-regular basis, that means that you are decent and acceptable. Now you can have actors such as Malik Yoba, who said he's into trans. They might make an exception for that genitalia as long as you have the right views. But every time they put up one of these posts on Twitter, it's the same auto-reply simps. It is Mark Plyer Hamill, it's Rab Reiner, Henry Sissingew, and of course our good friend David Porkrind. Now, these guys could all be cucks. They could all be bisexual. It doesn't matter. They're pushing that whole meme that you're weird if you're not basically doing what a woman wants, i.e. voting for this chick who rose to the top by giving head. I mean, what else can you say? They certainly tried a similar theme when it came to the whole Scamarona pandemic. Women were the ambassadors to ensure you would be conforming. You would get the injection. I'm not going to date you if you don't get stuck. I'm going to run away, take your kids if you're not in line with the program. I recall with my girlfriend at the time, she was initially resistant. Then she went behind my back and did it, saying, well, my career. And it's sad because her career hasn't gone anywhere since. But if you want to describe someone where it's like they turned off the lights in their eyes, she was a very sweet, caring, quick to smile, laugh type. After she got that injection, she's just resentful, dead fish, like I'm over life type persona, and very irritable. She would try to start arguments over pretty much anything and say the most ridiculous stuff. Like, remember the one time she just starts screaming that, yeah, you don't believe in the science, you're a freak, I would abort all the children we have. I'm going, where does this emerge? But it could go to that question of maybe you let something inside. Maybe you are serving now another master. Tattoos are a similar question. Leviticus is clear you are not to put these markings on your body. Now, of course, modern Christians like to cuck dance and rage pill, but you have to ask yourself, who's getting the most tattoos? And it's not the cute little, butterfly or the rose. No, it's elaborate stuff. They got a nice pair of legs, slap an ugly tattoo on the thigh, put it on their neck, put it on, in the chest in full view. And sometimes what they're depicting is very questionable. Brother Amr Wali says this: women are the property of Satan. Are these markings just artwork or are they signaling something else? And of course, they'll go, well, you've got a grunge max to get women. You need to get tattoos. Yeah, let me become like Machine Gun Kelly. And so by proxy, what am I serving just to get with this woman? This is a very valid thing to put forward and not just try to dismiss, oh, it's being too extreme. I don't think so. Because you see how everyone keeps doing the same thing. I mean, I went to this training class on the weekend, and of all the women, anyone 40 and under, they all had some kind of Stanley Cup. And this is something I see throughout. Middle-aged women Stanley Cups, younger women Stanley Cups. Now you're starting to see grannies with Stanley Cups. It's all conformity. And that might be okay. It's just consumerism. But this stuff, what you're putting on your body, what you're marking yourself with, I think people should have a little bit more awareness of where it's coming from. Alcohol is another layer to this crucial equation. So originally the term comes from the Middle East and referred to a substance, a paste you would put on your face to ward off evil spirits. As with everything, they have to invert it. So now you're consuming the spirits. People go, I don't know what got into me. I don't know what I was doing. But you're willing to surrender your faculties to who knows what. And certainly, I would agree, women are probably more susceptible than men are. They have lower tolerance. Oh, honey, I don't know how it happened. I just took off my panties and had an affair. They'll blame someone else. But if women are the first ones making contact with these potential spiritual forces, these dark elements, well, women are now kind of the go-between. They're the portal. Sort of like how Adam, whether he was right there with Eve or she brought it and persuaded him to eat the fruit, Samson and Delilah. It seems like this is set up. Whenever you have a decent man who's doing good work, usually they'll try to use a woman to enter his life and destroy what he's attempting to accomplish. But even with men are prone to using women as excuses for bad behavior. So, as an example, you'll see these comments sometimes in our Manosphere videos. I'm smashing this married woman, or she's with a boyfriend and the simp doesn't know. And they'll always cast it as though it's not their responsibility. They have no agency. It's just because the girl is interested, so they have to engage with that, as though there's a gun to their head. Like, really? I was talking to this younger guy maybe 5 or 6 months ago. He was in the military, but he said to me, "Oh, it kind of seems like you're pretty popular with the chicks in this area where we were working." And I said, well, the funny part is that a lot of these females that approach you are married. And the way I've always done it is you got to break up. I'm not interested in that. You have to break up with them. And they get very pissed off because they want to play both sides and say it's not their fault, blame someone else for their actions, not lose the privileges they possess. And he was like, oh, well, in the military, it happens all the time. So he admits to cucking. I don't know if it was his commanding officer or his senior NCO. And his excuse was, well, she asked me to do it, so it's not my fault. Yeah, you betrayed your brother in arms. You lied because a woman told you to do it. So what does it say about you? By proxy, maybe you're serving the very same thing that she is, and you just don't realize it, or you just want to pretend that's not relevant because it's all about women. And then the same guys will be whining and bitching about how women behave. And it's like you're kind of contributing to it in a small way. I even remember as a younger man, the Boy Scouts, this older gentleman, probably in his 70s, he gave a talk to the troop and he said, "You'll have to be careful because you'll face temptations as you grow, like alcohol and wild women." And I'm thinking, is that an Age of Empires reference? But with time, there's a lot of wisdom to it because one thing that women will do, and it's not just with alcohol, they will try to, if they see you as a decent person, I'm not talking about a nice guy. It's distinct. You actually have values, morals that you stand by, that you're not going to sacrifice just because it gets you a little bit ahead or gets you momentary satisfaction. They will try to, in a way, probe to see how far they can get you to give in based upon what they might present. And so I remember this Christian Puja from some years ago. She was like, "Oh, we should go to a drag show together." And I was like, "No." And she got very upset about that. "Oh, you're not being cool. You're not being chill and all that stuff." I was like, why would I want to go and watch a bunch of dudes dressed as women? What would that say about me that I'm just doing it so I can get on this woman's good side? No. And in other instances as well, like women that, because this is just how I am. If I don't like the girl personality wise, even if she's DTF, I usually just tell her, yeah, take a hike because I think you're kind of debasing yourself just so you can beat off inside of a woman a few times and you don't like her at all. So why would you waste your time? Well, what they'll do because they can't win on their personality, which is typically toxic, they'll try to lead with their ass. They'll try to start sexting really early on. Or they'll try to, oh, well, you want to hit this kind of thing because they assume no guy can resist them. No guy can resist sticking it in. And when you tell them no, because you're like, I'm just morally don't want any association with you, that really crushes them and it doesn't compute. And that's when they start actually legit hating you. And this is just a general concept in life. You ever heard of the, getting the evil eye? I've said this before, just in the grocery store. You'll see someone looking at you like they want to kill you, and you say, oh, maybe they're just having a bad day. You maybe do a loop or something, and it's like you come back into the aisle, and it's like they never stopped looking at you as you disappeared someplace. I've seen this out and about. I've seen this from men and women, and I sometimes wonder, is it because I carry myself a certain way? I have certain values that I don't sacrifice. I don't really care what the situation is. Am I being seen as potentially a problem? Almost like in the old movies, you would hold up a cross to a vampire and they would hiss and turn away. I think that's potentially a real phenomenon. I mean, maybe this is just the complexity and insanity of humans. This is why they behave in such a fashion. Maybe, oh, you're just seeing things. But nonetheless, I'd like to get your thoughts. Do you believe that there are spiritual forces afoot, or is it strictly it's just evolution and psychology?